Hello, good evening. I'm Will Ellis from DGT Agri, and this is Tuesday Tractor and Machinery Chat. And we've had a cracking couple of questions come in over the last week. Hopefully I'm going to get through this without a baby waking up upstairs. Yes, we've had a cracking couple of questions through, which hopefully you guys will find interesting, going everything from transmission to transmission chat on New Holland to Massey and Valtra tractor chat, and a bit of Case 5130 gearbox chat as well. So yeah, there's a bit of something in there for everyone, I hope. So yeah, we're 2 weeks post Llama already. Blimey, how's that happened? Coming up, we've got the Morn collection up for sale at HJ Pugh. That's pretty exciting. For those of you who've seen all the Massey and Ferguson tractors coming across from Ireland on the car transporters, that's what that is. That will be at HJ Pugh's for sale at the end of February. There's also Tractor World coming up as well over at Malvern. Hopefully going to make it across to that. We'll see how we go, see how the month goes. It's been pretty busy so far. So anyway, let's get through these questions. If you're wanting to add a question to something that you want me to discuss or something you want to bring to my attention, always keen to learn new stuff. There's always something new out in this industry. Then please leave a comment below, or if it's longer form, then put it in an email, and I will be discussing it next Tuesday. Filming on Sunday, discussing on Tuesday. Okie dokie. So first one up is Samuel Williams. This was actually sent on TikTok. Thinking of going to a New Holland power command gearbox from an auto command. Main jobs are pulling trailers, etc. Pros and cons. Okay, so New Holland chat. Power command transmission is a really old transmission now. It predates TMs even. Full power shift, all clutch packs, high, medium and low range, and then the speed clutches in the front. And the auto command is, again, not a new gearbox now. This has been out since 2009-10 with the T77 series, the Tier 3s that came out first. I'm presuming we're looking long wheelbase, which would be a 4x2 range CVT transmission. And he's going from an auto command to a power command. And the main jobs are pulling trailers, etc. Pros and cons. Well, I think personally, from an auto command to a power command gearbox, in that job you would find as a backward step. If your main job is pulling trailers, etc., so not heavy pulling, then you are going to be running the tractor at higher revs to do the same job. So an auto command will get to 50k, and if it's not under massive strain, it will pull the revs back on the tractor. A power command will not do that. It's always going to be revving flat out, doing that job. An auto command, of course, you just push your stick forward and you're going from 0 to 50k with no other command on it, and you've got the advantage of using the foot pedal to do that as well, whereas a power command you're going up through the box or press and hold the normal way to increment up and down the gears. That being said, I suppose it could be argued that the power command is a simpler gearbox. If you were putting multiple drivers on it, it'd be an easier thing for them to jump on, and it's probably a more economical option in terms of buying it outright, so weighing that up against the fuel cost. But neither are a bad transmission. The only thing with the power command I'd watch is if you've got slow range changes between 12th and 13th, you end up... It's always worth checking. If you've got a power command transmission, check the accumulator pressure, because the accumulators do lose their pressure in them, and it needs the accumulator when it's changing multiple speeds at once. So when it's stepping up from low range to high range, it needs to shift the speed section and it needs to shift the range section, although saying that's medium to high or low to high, and vice versa on the way down. So it's changing multiple gears at the same time. It needs quite a lot of oil in there to do that, and if that's what it uses the accumulator for, is to dump the large amount of oil in order to have a smooth shift. And if the accumulator isn't holding that oil, which quite often they're not, more often than not you'll find that the accumulator's gone pop, and that's what gives you a slow range change. So worth having a look if you're buying it secondhand, as to whether or not that accumulator, and you can get them, sometimes you can get them regassed. I've never had much of a success rate regassing accumulators. Every time I've taken one to be regassed, it's always just gone fut and it's got a hole in the bag and you end up replacing it. So there we are. Thanks for the question. So Will Murph 9 has commented, Like your opinion on tractors around the 100 horsepower mark. I'm planning on buying something relatively fresh, sub 4,000 hours in the next year. We're suckler farmers, and our main reason for changing is I want a loader tractor that will manage wilted round bales of silage, ideally 2 bales on the back. We've always been blue, but I don't know much about issues on the T5 series. How about the 5M John Deere's? There's a very good Valtra and Massey dealer nearby. I don't know much about the small tractors. You know what? Probably dealership is more important than brand when it comes to tractors. Anyway, I would always say nobody makes a terrible tractor in 2026, or even if you're looking sub 4,000 hours for the last 5 years, nobody's made a terrible tractor. They're all pretty damn good. Saying that, they can all fail and blow up and leave you in misery. So I would say the most important bit is the deal you were offered on the day and the dealer that's going to back you up after. That being said, 100 horsepower mark, I find the New Holland and the John Deere product offering a little bit light generally. The new T5 series with the 16x16 transmission are a lot better, a lot heavier, but the T5 105 HDs I found a bit light on the back end personally. And the 5M series John Deere is probably a better tractor than the 5R series, in my humble opinion. But Valtra and Massey probably have a better offering there. The A series Valtra I hear very well recommended, and my personal favourite would probably be a 57 series Massey. 56 series are alright, just that you got a 3-cylinder engine, which is no terrible thing, as long as you keep check an eye on the water pump, because I think those Sisu engines did do some water pump issues. But no, I would say, yeah, Massey or Valtra is probably as good an option as anything there in that sort of market. And then when it comes to loaders, yeah, Quickie or MX. Massey or Valtra loader is a Quickie, and there's nothing wrong with an MX loader, no, neither. They're very good. So on to Aled James. So this is a follow-up question. Last week I was talking about the 7,000 New Hollands, and I said I rated them higher than a TM series in terms of ease to work on, ease to fix, and that the electronics were built to a higher standard. I know TM has got a really good following. We were talking about this with Adrian Tugwell a couple of weeks ago in that video. Go back and check that out if you get a chance. He has very tidy TM155 he's just bought. TM120 Classic, which was a very basic TM made at the time. Not much electric, as he says. It will last longer on farms. I'm not too sure. I mean, I remember doing a study with New Holland, and it was comparing manual remote valves to hydraulic remote valves in sandy, arid climates. And we always found that it was the electronic ones that were failing least often, but more expensive when they did fail, compared to cable failures and points for dirt and dust entry. If I was looking at that era of tractor of that sort of size, I would personally much prefer an MX case 120 with the Cummins 6BT in it. I would say that would be my choice of tractor from that era. Nothing wrong with the TM. It's just, I suppose, it's just not my. I came into TM tractors at the tail end of them, and I feel like I only really dealt with the problems. I never really got to see the glory of them. It's good to see that, they're a good-looking tractor, and it's a cracking engine, and it's a Basildon legacy, and I am very pro anything come out of Basildon. But yeah, okay, I wouldn't get too excited about a TM120 Classic myself. Richard Matthews has commented, tractors we've hired versus owned, 3 favourites. Ford 5600 we had with the Q cab, so that would have been the white top Q cab with the turnbuckles on the windows that you had to tighten, and the double flip back window. I'm very familiar with that cab. Did a lot of work, very reliable. And then a Ford 7740. I'd be interested to know which model 7740, whether it was an SLE or not. But yeah, cracking tractor. Yeah, very reliable, nice to drive, did a lot of work. And then a John Deere. Wow, what a step up to a John Deere 6195. Yeah, I'm sure that is a very nice tractor to drive. Yeah, the John Deeres have got it pretty sewn up there, haven't they? It's interesting with the new M-Series coming out now. That seems to be something we see a lot of around here. They're doing very well on the M-Series. Big price difference between M's and R's, and what do you need? Anyway, that leads on very nicely to this next comment. So this is from Richard JW1. You know what? I think I know who this is. One for the discussion. Rising tractor costs in today's climate. How much do drivers really need? Heated leather seats, fancy metal paint, metallic paintwork, and some of the other fancy bits. It's a nice to have option, but soon becomes the norm. Likewise, repair costs increase, as do insurance claim costs. So here's the thing. In the world obsessed with carbon footprint, the best machine would be the one that's easiest to repair, has greater parts availability and price, and keeps going forever, as the scrapping and the new replacement are all affecting the beloved carbon footprint. Very good points made there, Richard. I think this is Richard Weymouth, who used to work for C&H with me back in the day, and he's a chap that I would love to interview on this. If you want a man with knowledge on boxcar magnums and early mid-90s axial flows, then he would be the chap, and some really cool stories to go with it, of working out in the Eastern Bloc post Berlin Wall coming down. So yeah, very interesting chap, and he makes some very good points. And I was discussing recently with a contractor not too far away from here who runs a really tidy fleet of classic tractors. And these are, and when I say tidy, they're very tidy. These are John Deere 7810s. They have a modern fleet, R-Series, M-Series, and they have a classic fleet, 7810s. And that's what he enjoys driving, and his brothers enjoys driving. But he tells me they struggle to get young lads, employees, to get on them and drive them. They'll drive them if they have to, if something new breaks down. But even a tractor that I would consider as a pretty luxurious modern tractor, they don't want to be on them. And today, the biggest challenge we have as businesses, as the biggest opportunity we have, is our staffing. And we're all competing against the next company on, and it's the same with us with the vans. If the vans are hanging, the lads don't want to drive them, and they want to be in the new stuff with the Apple CarPlay, with the heated seats, with all the metallic paintwork, and they enjoy the pride in the work. Of course, there are some out there which would be quite happy in an older machine, but the challenge is you're competing against the next contractor farmer who's ready to buy some stuff. And the other point is, if we all drove older classic stuff, it kind of breaks the cycle in somebody's got to buy the new stuff, haven't they? It is interesting with with John Deere, with the R and the M-Series now. The M-Series definitely seems to be growing real legs. And now that it's gone 50k, and maybe you are right, certainly in that case, that might be something that gains a lot more traction in price focus and everything else. And in terms of carbon footprint, yes, that's another thing that everyone needs to be considering. But when you look at these carbon calculations, they never seem to take into consideration buying new tractors and getting rid of old and scrapping, do they? That seems to be pushed to the side somehow, and they're always happy for you to buy a new electric van or God knows what else. Anyway, the last one I'm going to go through today, which is one of the favourite ones for me, is a question on, and I haven't written down the name of the person that's asked, but it's a question on TikTok regarding the 40 kph gear set on a Case 5100 series. So, for those of you who don't know, Case 5100 series, 5120, 5130, 5140, 5150, and then the Pros and the Pluses that came after that, you could have them in 30k or 40k options. And the difference was the two drive gears in the back that drive up to the pinion shaft. And you can swap these gears without splitting a tractor. So you could buy a 30k tractor, increase its top speed to a 40k. And they can be done, like I say, without splitting the tractor. And I've got a link, I'll put a link down below to Intertrac's website, who are selling a set of these gears. This is Tractor Breakers up in Shropshire. And they're very, very good people to deal with when it comes to classic, international and Case tractors. So in order to do it, you would take right-hand wheel off. If you look behind the hydraulic pump, just above, there is a plate there which will come off. There's some pipework that needs to come off from the pump that goes up to the rear spools that block it. Remove that pipework, remove the plate, and then you will see the two gears in it. I'm pretty sure you need to drop your oil out to get to them, and then they come out on a pair of circlips. If you send me a message, I will send you the manual so that you can work it out properly. But it's not a terrible job. And I've got a funny story on that as well. I actually have a 5130. It was my birthday a few years ago, and a 5130 came up secondhand, and it had my initials on the number plate. And I thought, I've always wanted a 51 series, and it was reasonably cheap. And I called the chap who was selling it, and I said, so long as that tractor is 40k, I will have it. And he called back an hour later, and he says, I'm very sorry, it's a 30k tractor. I've taken it for a road test because he didn't know, and it only does 30k. I said, that's a shame. That's a shame. So I hummed and hawed for a week, and I called him back, and I said, tell you what, I can buy some 40k gears. You knock the price down a couple £100, and I'll have it. And he agreed. So I went fetch his tractor with a lorry, and I drove it down to got it down to the local town, and I drove it the last couple of miles home. And I got out to the bypass, and God blimey, it was slow. And it didn't feel like it was revving right. The tacho didn't work on it, so I couldn't tell what engine revs it was doing. And I pulled into a lay-by, and I pulled out my penknife, and I hooked away the mud underneath the foot throttle. And sure enough, she was a 40k tractor. There was a stone stuck underneath the foot throttle, and she went like flipping stink. She's a good 40k, fair play to it. So that saved me a few £100. And yes, yeah, good old tractors. I do like my 5100 series. I would prefer an MX, but I am very happy with my 5100 series, even if there might be some David Brown heritage in it. Anyway, thank you very much for all the comments and the messages. If there's anything you want me to discuss, stick it in the comments below or send me an email, and I will discuss it next Tuesday. I'll be filming on Sunday, so make sure you get it in time. We will have our weekly update on Friday for you guys to watch, which I hope you guys are enjoying. And we've got, plenty going on. It's crackers in the workshop at the moment. So if you wouldn't mind, if you've got this far, please give us a follow, because it's a big help, and give the video some likes, because YouTube is new to us, and we have got a lot to learn and a lot to gain. So thank you very much all. I hope you enjoy the week.